dealing with stress, and TianChi is an energy formula. It's designed to be a drink that gives you energy and creates what we call real energy. And so the reason I add nutraceuticals is because when you look at how the body is disrupted during stress, one of the things that you lose mostly during stress is your energy through emotionally being caught up in the moment, and just your adrenals turn on and you lose all this energy. Well, I have herbs to offset that in the herbal part of the formula, but one of the main detriments of long-term stress is the fact that you disrupt brain function, especially memory, right? So the brain is lacking normally in nutrients anyway. Most people that I've ever talked to as far as nutritional counseling or putting on herb programs, they really don't eat well. And through all my work with dealing with people with memory issues, you come to realize at a certain point that a lot of people are literally starving as far as their brain goes, meaning their brain is missing specific nutrients it needs to be healthy and to function at an optimum level. You know, and that's what TianChi is about. It's an energy formula designed to relieve stress, but also to help you operate at your optimum level, right? And how do you do that? You have to focus on brain. So I have a system of brain nutrients that'll supply the brain with some of the things it needs to keep up, to process information, to power up, and just to have energy all day long. And when you combine that with the herbs, which calm your nervous system and then restore your adrenals, it's kind of a perfect blend that a human needs to go through life and not get worn out and to be able to keep up. And that's really the whole thing about TianChi. You want to be able to handle your life, not be stressed, but you want to be able to keep up with the flood of information, the flood of activity, all these different things going on in your life. A lot of people will complain to you that as they age, they seem to just not be able to keep up, not be able to process information. They seem to be slow. Everything's moving too fast for them. Well, when that's happening, that's a sign that your brain is low on energy and you're not able to keep up. So the whole part of TianChi is about that. So I add D-ribose to it, which is a nutrient. It's a type of non-calorie sugar that your cells have to produce ATP. And ATP is the molecule of energy that runs 98% of every function in your entire body. And if you don't have it, you're going to be lacking in energy. Your brain's going to be lacking in energy. It's extremely important for your heart, really important for athletes. Athletes burn up an incredible amount of ATP every day, and if they don't replenish it, then they're at a disadvantage if they're out competing or training really hard. So D-ribose is just a natural way of allowing the body and every cell in your body to produce ATP quite easily in all the little mitochondria of your cell. And you know, in your cells, some of them have between 2,000 and 5,000 mitochondria producing ATP. Your body has a huge requirement to make this. So if your diet's lacking at all in what you specifically need, you're not going to make enough ATP or supply your body with its needs when you actually need to have it. And so I use D-ribose as the main nutrient in my mix, but also it has this little bit of sweetness to it, so it allows me to make TianChi without any added sweetener to it. And then I have a nutrient called L-tyrosine, which is an amino acid. Your body, and particularly your brain, needs tyrosine to make dopamine, which is the neurotransmitter that powers up your brain and allows you to be alert and fully present during the day. And it's very important to take tyrosine or some sort of protein first thing in the morning so that your brain powers up with dopamine. It's not going to happen if you've had a carbo breakfast and then you're taking something for dopamine or a protein at lunch. You've missed the boat. The boat sails early in the morning, and you have to build dopamine then for the rest of the day. And once you do that, your brain now controls cravings for sugar. It's powered up for the rest of the day. It allows it to utilize the energy and power of all your other neurotransmitters. And it's also something that helps activate the frontal lobe of your brain, which is about, again, brain coherence and how your brain comes into synergy and everything works together. And tyrosine is also an incredible ingredient that your body will normally make out of another amino acid called phenylalanine, but when you're highly stressed, your body can't make the conversion from one to the other. And tyrosine is a step down in the process from phenylalanine. And so if you're not getting enough tyrosine and you're depending on just some of it from protein, it's always good to have a little bit of tyrosine in your formula to make sure your brain gets enough to make the dopamine when you actually need it. And it's also a very powerful antioxidant. It helps restore your adrenal energy. It has a broad range of functions, but as a single amino acid, it's very important in the formula. And one of the reasons why we tell people if they're highly stressed, just take TianChi first thing in the morning, because it'll allow your body to start to turn on dopamine for the rest of the day. There's also an herb in it that helps with that. Rhodiola helps with that. So when you're hitting it from a couple different approaches, you have a really good chance of helping your brain get set up the way it's supposed to start the day. We have another nutrient in it called DMG, which is dimethylglycine. It's a form of glycine, but the body uses dimethylglycine to oxygenate itself. It's a great immune system tonic. It's great for athletes because it helps with preventing buildup of lactic acid. All these different things that are famously attached to the use of DMG. But I actually use it because it's also a nutrient that seems to activate your pituitary gland. So again, you're kind of getting the idea behind this formula, activation of frontal lobe of the brain. And so once your energy becomes more situated up in that part of the brain, it's harder to get locked into a stress response. And this is why I keep mentioning frontal lobe, right? The herbs, adaptogens open up the frontal lobe of the brain. Meditation opens up the frontal lobe of the brain. That's one of the reasons why it helps you with stress, and why you feel more together when you meditate, because your brain is working, all the different parts of your brain are working together. When you drop out of frontal lobe and have a stress response, you're basically just in survival mode. So if you can blend nutrients together with herbs that achieve this energetic balance, then you have the ability to flow in and out of stress more easily, and the parts of your brain are nurtured that allow you to stay up in the frontal lobe of creativity and imagination more often or more easily. And that's one of the things I love about dimethylglycine. Choline is an essential nutrient for your brain, and this is one that I find that a lot of people are missing. They're just not getting enough of it. And it's part of my theory on the fact that most people with memory issues are suffering from something called starvation of the brain. In other words, they're getting enough calories, they're getting enough food as far as energy components, but their brain is lacking in energy. And so choline is a neurotransmitter precursor. In fact, you have to take choline to make the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. Acetylcholine you probably heard of because it's the neurotransmitter that's responsible for the speed by which your brain processes information. It's also responsible for the laying down of memory and the retrieval of memory, and it's the main neurotransmitter that they find is deficient or missing in people with Alzheimer's and dementia. So it has an integral effect on how your brain processes information, and especially as you age, it's very important that you have a source of choline in your diet. This is also a problem for most people because people have stopped eating eggs, which are the #1 source of choline in the diet, and they're having all kinds of dietary restrictions. There's so many different diets out today that restrict certain types of animal products that then make sure that your brain's not getting this essential nutrient, so you have to supplement. I think the latest statistics show that 90% of all Americans are deficient in choline. So it's one of the most important things your brain needs to stay healthy and process information. It's also a nutrient that helps your liver process other fats, and it's involved in and found in every cellular membrane. And together with B vitamins, it just helps your whole nervous system to stay in a healthier state. In fact, they found in certain diseases or certain states of autoimmune conditions that your body or your brain, when it's deficient in choline, will actually start to break down the myelin sheath of your nerves to get choline for something else. And so it's just something that's good to have in your diet every single day. And as far as TianChi goes, I know that at any time you want to supply your brain with something that helps it process information, that's the whole aspect of TianChi. It's about being focused, being calm, and keeping up, processing information, having fun, being alert, and just being present. So then we combine that with some other nutrients. We have a couple of amino acids. One's called taurine, and the other one's glycine. Now both of those are inhibitory amino acids, meaning that they calm your nervous system. They don't push energy, they calm your nervous system. Taurine is an essential amino acid, but it's not involved in making protein. It's actually part of your nervous system. Besides its calming effect, it detoxes your liver. It's really good for your heart. So there's a lot of different aspects to taurine that are very important. But in our formula, it helps your brain and your nervous system to have that little bit of calmness to it while it's being picked up and having more of an energetic feel in its ability to process information and to be awake and present. Same way with glycine. Glycine's an inhibitory neurotransmitter. It's involved in almost every cellular process. It's one of the few amino acids that's involved in binding with toxins in your system and moving it out of the body. And so again, I like it in the formula because it keeps your nervous system calm, but it helps people sleep too. And it keeps your brain calm even when you're having more energy. And this is why, one of the reasons I use taurine and glycine is because I have some caffeine in TianChi. And people are often wondering, well, why do you put caffeine in TianChi? Well, TianChi is a fun drink, and it's supposed to be an energy drink, and people take it before they go to work, which means they have to be alert. They want to be able to process information. That's part of life. It's part of work. And yet, if you find the exact way of blending that with things that calm your nervous system, things that regulate your HPA axis, your stress response, what you get is someone who's fully alert, yet doesn't feel like they're being energized, and yet they're present, completely awake, and they're just feeling great. And that's why I mix all the things together. I have one other nutrient that I like that I put in the brain formula. It's called DMAE, which is dimethyl amino ethanol. So you know now why they call it DMAE. And so that's a precursor again to acetylcholine. And the reason I combine the two of them is that sometimes, especially as you get older, people don't absorb choline the exact same way as they do when they're younger. So you want to make sure that your brain has a few different options for making acetylcholine, because it's involved again in all your memory processes, the speed by which you process information. So I use dimethyl amino ethanol, DMAE, to help make sure that you're getting enough acetylcholine production in your brain.